are going to now talk cars here. Investors considering buying into GM's IPO next week got some good news today. The company reported $2.16 billion in profit for the third quarter on revenues of $34.1 billion. GM plans to sell 365 million shares at $26 to $29 a piece, raising as much as $10.6 billion. I think I'm giving you enough numbers. You get the idea. We're going to talk to, right now, Jeremy Anwyl. He's the CEO of Edmunds.com. It's an automotive research site. Jeremy, a lot of numbers there, pretty tough to get your head around, but suffice it to say they're doing fairly well, and they're going to still raise more than $10 billion, a little less than we expected. But what do you say about the performance of General Motors? I mean, will they continue to have such really not bad months of car sales? I mean, they continue to outperform expectations.
Yeah, they've had some good news going on now for the last couple of weeks. October sales came in strong, and then today the earnings, I think, pretty much as expected, but very positive results. So that's really the key question for investors, though. Is this going to continue moving into next year? And I think it really hinges on probably three things. One of them is just the overall recovery in car sales. Is that going to continue? And number two, is GM going to continue to be disciplined around costs? And another piece that I think is worth noting is that they've been able to raise prices pretty successfully. And is that something that they'll be able to continue as well?
We've seen, by the way, about 12 million annual, SARP is what you call it, but it's an annual sales figure in the last month. Do you think we'll keep above that? And I think they need more than 10 million in annual sales to stay afloat.
Right. Well, that was really the good news in October. We finally jumped up on a sales pace to about 12.2, which we haven't seen that really in a couple of years. So that was very, very good news. And GM was one of the leading, I think, players in terms of those numbers, which were a little bit better than people expected. So some questions thinking about next year in terms of whether that's going to be sort of a continuation. Will we see a trend line? Will we get up above 13 million? Or was it more of an aberration, maybe right around the elections, or who knows what? So there's some questions about that, but overall it looks like the car sales are trending up.
I mean, Jeremy, as you point out, there's still a couple of things, there's still a couple of questions out when it comes to GM. But I mean, when all is said and done, do you feel like it's a new, improved General Motors and that things have changed? They're going to be a profitable company going forward, and that we, who all own, 61% still of the company, are eventually going to get all that money back?
Right. Well, I think the chances are looking better and better that the taxpayer is going to get fully reimbursed, maybe even make a little bit of profit. They've just made such an incredible progress since the bankruptcy last year. So I think they do deserve a lot of credit. Pointing out risks doesn't mean that a lot hasn't been accomplished. So sure, there's always risks, but they've got a lot of they've accomplished an awful lot, and the good news certainly shouldn't be minimized.
So what's helping them out here? I mean, we just showed some video of Buicks driving around. I think that was one of the big surprises of the year, the success of Buick. But what about the other brands?
Yeah. Well, Chevrolet is the big player, obviously, for General Motors, 60–70% of their sales. They've got a new vehicle out right now, just hitting the marketplace, that's very highly regarded, and it's in a critical small car segment, which is an area where GM has not been competitive before, and it's the Chevy Cruze. Looks like it's doing pretty well. So the product front is an area where General Motors has been doing a very nice job.
And they've also done really well overseas, correct?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think people overlook, is that Rick Wagner, who obviously was the CEO and had to resign as the U.S. Auto Task Force was kind of taking over, one of his real legacies, I think, was emphasizing China, which is doing very well, and also South America. Now, the turnaround has yet to kick in Europe, but South America and China are two very good bright spots for GM.
What about the competition? I mean, do they have anything to worry about from competitors here or abroad?
Well, sure. I mean, the U.S. market in particular is incredibly competitive. Just look at the last couple of years, and Hyundai's kind of come up out of nowhere and really jumped into the top tier in terms of being competitors. Over the next few years, we'll see new competitors coming in from China, perhaps even from India at some point. So this is a very, very competitive market. Success is never assured.
All right. We're going to leave it there. Hey, Jeremy, thank you so much. Jeremy Anwyl, CEO of Edmunds.com. Great to have you here.